Chosen one. If you are watching this video today, stop whatever you are doing. Because God did not let this video find you by accident. He placed it in your path at this exact moment because there is something coming in your life. Something big. Something you are not ready for. And before it arrives, He needed you to hear this. Chosen one, I need to ask you something first. How long have you been waiting? 1 year? 2 years? Maybe longer? Everyone around you seems to be moving forward. Someone is getting engaged. Someone is getting married. Someone is saying, I finally found them. And you are still standing in the same place, the same room, the same silence, face to face with the same question. Will my day ever come? You are tired of asking that question in silence. And this video is here for exactly that reason. Because God told me to find you. Today. Before it's too late. Chosen one, know this. Waiting is not weakness. But waiting for the wrong thing will exhaust you. Most people who wait for love are actually waiting for approval. Not to be loved, but to be seen. Waiting for someone to come close and say, you are enough. And that is exactly why the wrong doors keep opening. The wrong people come. The wrong relationships begin. The wrong promises are made. Because there is an unfilled void inside you. And the person who will fill that void has not walked through that door yet. But listen. That person exists. You are just not ready yet. God wants to bring you together with that person. But first, something inside you needs to change. And this video is exactly where that change begins. Think for a moment. Think about the relationships that hurt you in the past. Those people. Those moments. Do you know why those relationships had to end? Because they were not meant for you. But you didn't see it. You tried to hold on. You said, maybe it will get better. You said, maybe they will change. They didn't change. And each time, you broke a little more. You closed off a little more. You thought a little more. Maybe I am not worthy of being loved. No. Chosen one, you are worthy of being loved. But by the right person. And God did not take you through the wrong doors so you would go back. He took you through the wrong doors so you could recognize the right one. Chosen one, now I need your full attention. Because this part is important. God told me something today. And I need to deliver it to you. That person, the one written for you, is already watching you right now. Maybe you know them. Maybe you don't. Maybe someone you see every day. Maybe someone you have never paid attention to. Maybe someone you have only crossed paths with a few times and can barely remember their name. But they remember you. They noticed you. And God is saying this. That person is afraid to take a step. Because you are closed off. Because there is an invisible wall around you. And you don't even remember when you built that wall. Do you remember it? That wall. It started the first time you broke. Someone let you down. Someone broke their promise. Someone left. And that night, you quietly made a decision inside yourself. I will never trust this easily again. And that decision protected you. For a while. But now it is imprisoning you. Now I want you to understand something. Building that wall was not your fault. You were trying to protect yourself. That is a human instinct, a defense against pain. But God is saying this. That wall is no longer protecting you. It is keeping you away. And what it is keeping away is not just pain. What it is keeping away is that person. The very one written for you. The very soul God has prepared for you. Chosen one, most people ask this. How will I know? How will I recognize it? And you came to the right place to ask that question. Because God sends signs. Always. But we ignore those signs most of the time. Either we are too busy or too tired, or the sign doesn't come the way we expected it, and we fail to recognize it. So I am going to tell you those signs. The first sign is this. Has your sleep pattern been disrupted lately? If you have been waking up late at night, lying awake alone with your thoughts for hours, that is not a coincidence. Your spirit feels that something is coming. Your mind cannot make sense of it. But your spirit knows. God prepares the spirit first. The body comes after. And right now, chosen one, you are in the middle of a spiritual preparation. The second sign, have things from your past started coming back to your mind? Old photographs, old moments, maybe someone you haven't seen in a very long time, maybe a sound, a smell, a feeling from your childhood. This is not nostalgia. This is God cleansing you. He is freeing you from the weight of your past before moving you into your future, because you cannot begin a new journey carrying old burdens. The third sign. Have you been more impatient with yourself lately? Are small things wearing you out more than before? Are things you used to tolerate now feeling unbearable? This is not weakness. This is the pain of growth. God is pulling you out of your old version of yourself. And every growth hurts a little. Every transformation is a little difficult. But it has an end. Chosen one. Now I want to tell you a story. When I first heard this story, something tightened inside me. Because this story was the very thing so many people live through, but no one can quite put into words. Oscar Naranjo was 42 years old. From the outside, his life seemed to have everything. A good career, a respected circle, approval in the eyes of others. But at night, his room was empty. And that emptiness, it was the kind that cannot be described with words. Oscar had loved deeply in his youth, his first love. When he remembered that time, he still felt a warmth inside. But that relationship had ended. It ended badly. And from that day forward, Oscar had never truly given himself to anything. Years passed. Relationships came and went. Each time, Oscar would reach a certain point. A point where he either had to move forward or pull back. And every single time, he pulled back. Because there was a voice inside him. A quiet but powerful voice. Don't get close. It will hurt. And that voice protected him. For years. But at the same time, it sentenced him. One day, Oscar traveled to a small town for a work meeting. An unfamiliar city. Unfamiliar faces. The meeting ended. On his way back to the hotel, he walked past a small cafe. He went inside, just to have a coffee. And there was a woman there. Her name wasn't Miriam, but Oscar imagined that name in his mind that night. Because there was something on that woman's face. He couldn't describe it. A peace, but also a pain. As if she too had been waiting for something for a very long time. Their eyes met, just for 1 second. Oscar looked away, finished his coffee, left. But that night, he couldn't sleep. The next morning, he went back to the same cafe. He didn't know why. Something was just pulling him there. The woman was gone. 3 days later, he returned to his city. The meetings were done. The work was finished. But that face didn't leave. That face stayed in his mind for months. And Oscar was afraid to admit this to himself, because he didn't even know her name. He had only seen her for a second. This made no sense. But the soul does not listen to logic. Exactly 9 months passed. Oscar was in another city, at a completely different conference. And in the breakfast hall of that conference, sitting directly across from him, was that woman. This time Oscar stood up. He walked to her table. "I've seen you before," he said, "in a small cafe, Last year. The woman looked up. She smiled. I saw you too, she said, and I wondered why you left. That day they talked, for hours, and in that conversation, Oscar understood. This woman had also been waiting for years. This woman had also closed herself off. This woman had also been asking that question in the silence of her nights. Will my day ever come? That conversation lasted 6 hours. Neither of them noticed the time passing. They talked about everything. Childhood, old wounds, the relationships that didn't work, the doors they had closed, the prayers they had whispered alone at night and wondered if anyone was listening. And at some point, Oscar said something he had never said out loud before. I stopped believing this was possible for me. The woman across from him went quiet. Then she said, I said the exact same thing. 3 weeks ago, I was sitting alone in my apartment, and I said, maybe this is just not meant for me. Oscar looked at her. And then what happened? She smiled. And then I let go. I stopped trying to control it. I stopped asking when. I just said, God, whatever you have planned, I trust it. And 3 weeks later, I'm sitting here. That night, Oscar walked back to his hotel room alone. But something was different. The room felt the same. The silence felt the same. But something inside him had shifted. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel like emptiness. It felt like space. Space for something new. And Oscar sat on the edge of his bed, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, he prayed. Not a rehearsed prayer, not words he had memorized, just his own voice, cracked and quiet, speaking into the dark. God, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm done fighting it. Whatever you have for me, I'm ready. Chosen one, I want to stop here. Because what Oscar did in that hotel room, that moment of surrender, that is exactly what God has been waiting for from you. Not perfection, not a cleaned-up version of yourself, not someone who has it all together. Just surrender. Just the moment when you stop trying to control the outcome, and you say, God, I trust you. Most people think they need to be ready before love can come. They think they need to heal completely. They think they need to become a better version of themselves first. And then, once everything is in order, God will send the right person. But that is not how it works. God does not wait for you to be finished. He walks with you through the process. And sometimes, He sends the right person not after the healing, but as part of it. Oscar didn't have it all figured out that night. He was still broken in places. He still had walls he hadn't fully taken down. But he made one decision. He chose to trust. And that decision changed everything. Chosen one, think about where you are right now. Not where you want to be. Not where you thought you would be by now. Where you actually are. Maybe you are tired. Maybe you are disappointed. Maybe you have prayed this prayer so many times that the words feel hollow now. Maybe you have watched so many people find their person that you have started to feel like the exception rather than the rule. I need you to hear this. You are not the exception. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are being prepared. And the preparation is almost over. Chosen one. Let me talk about that wall again, because I know it is still there, even as you are watching this, even as something inside you is starting to soften. That wall has a name. It is not called protection. It is not called wisdom. It is not called strength. It is called fear. Fear that if you open up again, you will be hurt again. Fear that this time will be just like the last time. Fear that the person you let in will eventually leave. Fear that your love is not enough to make someone stay. And I understand that fear. It did not come from nowhere. It was built from real experiences, real pain, real betrayal, real loss. But here is what God is saying to you today. That fear has served its purpose. It kept you safe when you needed to be safe. It gave you time to breathe when you needed to breathe. It held you together when you felt like you were falling apart. But its job is done now, and it is time to put it down. Chosen one, you do not have to tear the wall down all at once. God is not asking you to become completely vulnerable overnight. He is not asking you to throw yourself into the first connection that comes your way. He is not asking you to ignore discernment or wisdom. He is asking you to do one thing: make a crack in the wall. Just one crack. Just enough to let a little light through. Because that person, the one who is already watching you, they are not looking for someone perfect. They are not looking for someone who has no wounds. They are looking for someone real. Someone who has been through something and survived. Someone whose eyes carry a story. That person is looking for you. Exactly as you are. 3 months after that conference, Oscar and the woman met again. This time, intentionally. He had reached out. She had said yes. They met for dinner in a quiet restaurant in the city. And at some point during that dinner, she said something that stopped Oscar completely. "I noticed you the first time," she said. "In that little cafe. You walked in and I felt something shift. I don't know how to explain it. But I thought, that man is carrying something heavy. And I wanted to know what it was." Oscar stared at her. "Why didn't you say anything?" She looked down at her cup. "Because you left before I could. And then I thought, maybe I imagined it. Maybe it meant nothing. Maybe I'm just hoping for something that isn't there." Oscar reached across the table. He didn't say anything. He just placed his hand over hers. And in that silence, in that single, quiet gesture, something that had been locked inside him for over a decade finally opened. Not with noise, not with drama. Just gently. The way a door opens when someone finally uses the right key. That night, walking home, Oscar looked up at the sky, and he laughed. Not because everything was perfect, not because all his questions were answered, not because the future was suddenly clear. He laughed because he finally understood. All those years of waiting, all those moments of almost, all those nights of wondering if God had forgotten about him. God hadn't forgotten. God had been preparing Oscar, preparing her, preparing the exact moment, the exact cafe, the exact conference, the exact table. None of it was an accident. Every wrong door had been pointing him toward the right one, and the right one had been watching him, long before he was ready to be seen. Chosen one, now I want to speak directly to you, not to Oscar, not to his story. To you, the person watching this right now. I don't know what you have been through. I don't know how many times you have been disappointed. I don't know how many nights you have cried alone and felt invisible. I don't know how many times you have almost given up on the idea that love was still possible for you. But God knows. Every single tear, every single prayer, every single night. He saw it all. And He is saying this to you right now, through this video, at this exact moment. Your story is not over. The chapter you are in right now, the hard one, the quiet one, the confusing one, it is not the end. It is the turning point. And the person who has been written for you, they are closer than you think. You may have already seen them, passed them on the street, sat near them without knowing, heard their name without realizing why it stayed with you. God's timing is never late. It only feels late to us because we are watching from inside the story. But He sees the whole picture, and the whole picture is beautiful. Chosen one. So what do I want you to do after this video ends? Not a long list, not a complicated ritual, just 3 things. First, let go of the timeline. Stop calculating. Stop comparing. Stop measuring your life against someone else's story. Your journey has its own pace, and that pace is perfect for where you are going. Second, make a crack in the wall. Start small. Say yes to one invitation you would normally decline. Smile at one person you would normally walk past. Have one conversation you would normally avoid. Just one crack. That is enough to start. Third, say this out loud today. Not in your head. Out loud. Even if your voice shakes. Even if you feel silly. Even if you are alone in the room. Say this. God, I trust your timing. I release control. I am ready. That is it. That is the prayer Oscar prayed in that hotel room. And 9 months later, he was sitting across from the person God had written for him. Chosen one, your 9 months may already be running. You may already be closer to that moment than you know. But you will only recognize it if you are open. So be open. The person watching you, they are waiting for a signal from you. Not perfection. Not a grand gesture. Just openness. Just the quiet message that says, I am here. I am ready. I am no longer hiding. God has not forgotten you. He never did. He has been writing your story since before you were born. Every detour, every delay, every door that closed, every night that felt endless. All of it was leading here, to this moment, to the beginning of what comes next. And what comes next, chosen one, it is worth every second of the wait. If this message spoke to you today, leave one sentence in the comments below. Just one sentence about what you are ready to let go of. God sees it. And so do I.